The screen of my phone lit up with a message that would shatter everything I thought I knew about family loyalty. Unknown number. 3 simple words. Watch your back. I'm Jade, and until this moment, my biggest concern had been meeting my deadline for a piece about sustainable gardening. Now, sitting in my favorite coffee shop, my laptop forgotten, I kept reading those words over and over, trying to decode their meaning. Earth to Jade? Clara waved her hand in front of my face. You look like you've seen a ghost. Look at this. I slid my phone across the table, leaving a trail in the spilled coffee neither of us had bothered to wipe up. Clara's perfectly shaped eyebrows drew together. Probably just spam. Delete it. No. I shook my head, pulling up the message details. The number's local, and look at the timing. Right after Ryan told his parents about moving in together. You're being paranoid. Clara took a long sip of her latte. Margaret's a piece of work, sure, but threatening texts? That's a bit much, even for her. The barista called out another order, making me jump. My hands were shaking as I took my phone back. You weren't at dinner last week. You didn't see her face when Ryan mentioned the apartment. It was like someone had just announced the apocalypse. Religious people can be intense about living together before marriage. This is different. I opened my notes app, typing quickly. First, the accidental deletion of our apartment viewing appointments from Ryan's calendar. Then the sudden family emergencies every time we planned to go furniture shopping. Now this? My phone buzzed again. Another message. Ask Ryan about April 15th. Holy shit, Clara whispered, reading over my shoulder. Okay, maybe you're not paranoid. I was already dialing Ryan's number, straight to voicemail. My stomach twisted into knots as I remembered him mentioning lunch with his parents today. He's with them right now. Jade. Clara's voice had that careful tone she used when she thought I was about to do something stupid. Maybe you should wait. For what? For them to succeed in whatever they're planning? I stood up, gathering my things. I'm going to the restaurant. At least let me come with you. No. I shouldered my bag. I need to handle this myself. The 15-minute walk to Giovanni's felt like an eternity. Through the window, I could see them. Ryan's tall frame hunched slightly, the way it always was around his parents. Margaret's perfect posture, her hands gesturing as she spoke. Henry's military straight back, nodding along with whatever she was saying. My phone buzzed one more time. They're showing him the photos right now. Photos? What photos? Through the glass, I watched Ryan's face change. Saw him push back from the table. Saw Margaret reach for his hand. Saw him let her take it. I stood there, frozen on the sidewalk, as pieces started falling into place. April 15th, the day I'd met with my publisher about my book deal. The day I'd celebrated at that bar with Clara. The day someone had apparently taken photos that Margaret Bennett thought would destroy everything. My phone buzzed again, but this time it was a call. Evelyn's name flashed on the screen. Don't go in there, she said before I could speak. Meet me at Park Square in 20 minutes. There's something you need to know. I looked back through the window. Ryan was staring at something on the table. Photos, I assumed, while Margaret spoke intently, her perfectly manicured nails tapping the surface for emphasis. Henry sat back, arms crossed, wearing the same expression he'd had when he'd first met me and asked about my real job prospects. Okay, I said to Evelyn, turning away from the scene. But you better tell me everything. As I walked toward Park Square, my phone chimed one final time. The game has begun. Choose your moves carefully. I deleted the message, straightened my shoulders, and picked up my pace. If Margaret Bennett wanted to play games, she was about to learn that literature graduates know all about tragic endings and how to write them. Evelyn was already waiting at Park Square when I arrived, perched on a bench like she was ready to bolt at any moment. Her designer outfit couldn't hide the shadows under her eyes or the way her fingers kept twisting her wedding ring. Those photos they showed Ryan? She didn't wait for me to sit down. They're from the night you were celebrating your book deal. My stomach dropped. What about them? They show you kissing someone. Evelyn's voice was barely above a whisper. A man who isn't Ryan. That's impossible. I grabbed her arm. I never. The photos are doctored. She pulled out her phone, swiping through a series of images. Look closely. See how the lighting doesn't quite match? Mother hired someone to create these. She has connections. The photos showed me at the bar with Clara, but in several shots, there was a man I'd never seen before, getting progressively closer until the final image showed us kissing. The manipulation was subtle, professional grade. Why are you showing me this? Evelyn's laugh was bitter. Because 3 years ago, she did the same thing to me. Different scenario, same result. My husband left me before I could prove they were fake. My phone buzzed. Ryan, we need to talk. Coming over now. He's coming to my place. I stood up, my legs shaky. I have to. Wait. Evelyn grabbed my wrist. There's more. Mother's plan isn't just to break you up. She wants to destroy your credibility before your book launches. She knows a scandal could tank your career before it starts. How do you know all this? Because I'm supposed to be helping her. Evelyn's eyes met mine. I've been playing along, feeding her information, but I'm done being her puppet. I made it home just before Ryan arrived. He stood in my doorway, looking lost in a way I'd never seen before. The photos were clutched in his hand. Tell me they're not real. His voice cracked. They're not. I reached for the photos, but he pulled back. Ryan, look at me. Your mother had them created. Evelyn told me everything. Evelyn? He laughed, harsh and hollow. The sister who hasn't spoken to us in 3 years? That's your source? She hasn't spoken to you because your mother… Stop! He pressed his fingers to his temples. Just stop blaming my mother for everything. These photos are fake. I pulled up the images Evelyn had sent me. Look at the lighting inconsistencies. Look at how the man's shadow falls wrong in every shot. Your mother hired someone to… You really expect me to believe she'd do that? Yes! I grabbed his arm, forcing him to look at me. Because she did the same thing to Evelyn. Ask her yourself. Ask her why she really got divorced. Ryan's phone rang. Margaret's name lit up the screen. He answered it on speaker, his hands trembling. Darling, are you with her? Margaret's voice dripped concern. Your father and I are so worried. We hate seeing you hurt like this. I'm fine, Mother. Ryan's eyes never left mine. We're just talking. About the photos? Sweetheart, I know it's painful, but you deserve the truth. We've already spoken to a lawyer about… A lawyer? I cut in. For what exactly, Margaret? There was a pause. Ryan, you have her on speaker? That's incredibly inappropriate. This is a family matter. I am his family. The words came out sharp enough to cut. And I know about Evelyn's photos, the ones you had doctored 3 years ago. Should we talk about those? The silence stretched for 5 long seconds. Ryan, Margaret's voice had hardened. Come home, now. Your father and I need to discuss something important with you. No. The word seemed to surprise Ryan as much as it did me. Not until you tell me the truth about Evelyn's divorce. That situation was completely different. Was it? Ryan's voice gained strength. Because right now, Mother, I'm starting to see some pretty disturbing patterns. Another pause. When Margaret spoke again, her voice was ice. You sound tired, darling. Confused. Come home, and we'll sort this all out. Ryan ended the call. His hands were steady now, but his face had gone pale. I need time to think. Ryan? Please. He backed toward the door. Just give me time. After he left, my phone buzzed with a new message from the unknown number. Round 1 goes to you, but Margaret Bennett plays the long game. Hope you're ready for round 2. I looked at the photos again, at the careful manipulation of truth, at the calculated destruction of relationships. Then I texted Evelyn. I'm in. Let's take her down. Evelyn's apartment was exactly what you'd expect from someone trying to erase their past. Minimalist, modern, and completely devoid of family photos. We sat at her kitchen island, spreading out documents like we were planning a heist. Mother keeps everything, Evelyn said, sliding a folder toward me. Tax records, bank statements, private investigator receipts. She's meticulous about documenting her victories. I opened the folder and my hands started shaking. These go back years. Look at the pattern. Evelyn pointed to various dates. Every time one of us tried to break free, she orchestrated a crisis. My divorce, Ryan's rejected job offer in Seattle, even Dad's sudden health scare when I tried moving to Boston. My phone buzzed. Ryan, can't make dinner tonight. Family emergency. Let me guess, Evelyn said, watching my face. Mother's having one of her episodes? Before I could answer, my laptop pinged with an email notification. My publisher's name appeared in bold. Urgent, concerning recent allegations. No, I whispered, opening the email. She wouldn't, but she had. Someone had sent my publisher anonymous evidence suggesting my book was plagiarized. The email contained side-by-side comparisons with another author's work, carefully selected passages that looked damning out of context. I told you. Evelyn's voice was gentle. She doesn't just break relationships, she breaks futures. My phone rang. Clara. Jade, have you seen the literary blog posts? They're saying, I know. I cut her off, my voice steady despite the room spinning. Margaret's moving faster than we expected. What are you going to do? I looked at Evelyn, who was already pulling up more documents on her laptop. We're going to show Ryan exactly who his mother is. Tonight. The drive to the Bennett house felt like entering enemy territory. Evelyn's hands were white-knuckled on the steering wheel as we pulled up to the massive colonial home. Ready? She asked. No, I admitted. But we're doing this anyway. The front door opened before we could knock. Henry stood there, his military posture perfect as ever. Evelyn? For the first time, I saw surprise crack his facade. What are you? Where's Ryan? She pushed past him, her confidence clearly throwing him off balance. Margaret appeared in the hallway, her face going pale at the sight of her daughter. Evelyn? This isn't a good time. Ryan's resting. No, I'm not. Ryan appeared at the top of the stairs, looking exhausted. His eyes widened when he saw us. Jade? Evelyn? What's going on? Show him, I said to Evelyn. She pulled out her phone, connecting it to the TV in the living room. Documents appeared on the screen. Bank statements, emails, private investigator reports, years of Margaret's careful manipulation laid bare. What is this? Henry stepped forward, but Margaret grabbed his arm. It's nothing, she said quickly. Old business documents? It's evidence, Evelyn's voice cut through the room, of every life you've destroyed to maintain control, including mine. Ryan moved closer to the screen, reading. His face went through a series of emotions: confusion, disbelief, horror. The job offer in Seattle, that was you? I was protecting you. Margaret's voice took on that familiar soothing tone. You weren't ready. I was 27. Ryan's shout made us all jump. And now, Jade's book? The plagiarism claims? That was you too? Margaret's mask slipped just for a moment. It was all the confirmation we needed. Ryan, Henry stepped forward. Your mother only wants... Stop. Ryan held up his hand. Just stop defending her. He turned to Margaret. Why? Why do this to people you claim to love? The silence stretched thin enough to snap. Then Margaret smiled, and it was the most terrifying thing I'd ever seen. Because love without control is chaos, she said softly, and I won't let my family descend into chaos. My phone buzzed one final time. Round 3 begins. Hope you're ready for what comes next. I looked at Ryan, saw the devastation on his face as his mother's true nature emerged, saw Evelyn's years of pain finally finding voice, saw Henry's blind loyalty beginning to crack. This wasn't just about saving my relationship anymore. This was about ending Margaret Bennett's reign of control, once and for all. I stepped forward, meeting her cold smile with one of my own. Bring it on. The morning after our confrontation with Margaret, my publisher dropped my book deal. The email was carefully worded, concerns about creative integrity, and brand reputation. I deleted it without finishing, my hands steady as I poured another cup of coffee. Ryan hadn't come home last night. His text just said, "Need space to think." Clara sat across from me at her kitchen table, scrolling through the online fallout. The plagiarism accusations are everywhere. How did she get it to spread so fast? Margaret Bennett has friends in high places. I watched the steam rise from my cup. Evelyn says she's been cultivating these connections for decades. My phone lit up with a text from Ryan. "Meeting with a family lawyer today. Need to understand some things. Talk later?" Before I could respond, another message appeared from the unknown number. "Choices have consequences. Ask Henry about September 12th, 1992. "What's that date?" Clara asked, reading over my shoulder. "No idea." I pulled up my laptop. "But I'm about to find out." 3 hours of research later, I found it. A small newspaper article about a local business scandal. Henry Bennett's name appeared in connection with missing funds, but the investigation mysteriously disappeared. The date? September 12th, 1992. My phone rang. "Evelyn. Did you get a message about September 1992? Her voice was tight. "Yes. How did you—" "Mother's having a meltdown. I've never seen her like this. The date triggered something." I heard shouting in the background, then Henry's voice. "Margaret, calm down! You promised we'd never speak of it." Margaret's voice shrill and broken. "You promised!" The call cut off. My phone buzzed again. "Ryan, come to the house. Now!" The scene I walked into was chaos. Margaret sat rigid in her armchair, Henry hovering nearby. Ryan stood by the fireplace, holding what looked like old documents. Evelyn was perched on the sofa's arm, watching everyone like she was calculating escape routes. "Show her," Ryan said to his father. Henry's military posture crumbled. "Son, some things are better left." "Show her," Ryan repeated. "Or I will." Henry moved to a bookshelf, pulled out a thick leather album. His hands shook as he extracted a yellowed envelope. "The missing money," he said quietly. "It wasn't missing. Margaret used it to pay off someone who threatened to expose something from her past." "What something?" I asked. "Don't." Margaret's voice cut through the room like a blade. "Henry, I forbid." "You forbid?" Ryan laughed, harsh and hollow. "Like you forbid me from taking the Seattle job? Like you forbid Evelyn from moving to Boston? Like you're trying to forbid my relationship with Jade? I protected you." Margaret stood, her perfect facade cracking. "All of you, everything I did, was about control," Evelyn finished, "not protection." "You don't understand," Margaret whispered. "If people knew, if they found out." "Found out what?" I stepped forward. "What's worth destroying your children's lives to keep hidden?" The room went silent. Margaret's eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw real fear there. "Tell them," Henry said softly. "Or the private investigator I hired will." Margaret's head snapped toward him. "You what?" "Enough secrets." Henry's voice hardened. "Enough manipulation. Tell them, or I will." My phone buzzed one final time. "The truth changes everything. Ready for the real game to begin?" I looked at Ryan, saw the conflict in his eyes as he watched his family implode. Saw Evelyn's quiet determination, saw Henry's resigned acceptance. And Margaret? She looked like a queen watching her kingdom crumble. "Fine," she said, smoothing her skirt with trembling hands. "You want the truth? Here it is." But before she could continue, Ryan held up his hand. "Wait!" He turned to me. "Jade, you should know. Whatever we learn here, it might change everything." I met his gaze steadily. "I'm counting on it." Because sometimes, I was learning, revenge isn't about destroying someone. Sometimes it's about forcing the truth into the light, no matter how ugly it might be. Margaret took a deep breath and began to speak. Margaret's truth hit the room like a grenade. "I killed someone. September 12th, 1992. A man who threatened to expose my past. The missing money wasn't just a payoff, it was to clean up my mistake. The silence that followed felt like drowning. Ryan's face went blank. Evelyn pressed her hand to her mouth. And Henry just looked tired. It was an accident, Margaret continued, her voice eerily calm. He was blackmailing me about my first marriage, the one nobody knows about. He had proof that I'd been married before, that I'd abandoned my husband when I met Henry. If the church had found out. So you killed him? Ryan's voice cracked. I pushed him. He fell, hit his head. Margaret's hands twisted in her lap. Henry helped me cover it up. My phone buzzed. Now you know why she's so good at making people disappear. All these years, Evelyn whispered. Every time you destroyed someone's relationships, ruined their lives, it was because you were afraid they'd discover this? I protected this family. Margaret stood, her composure cracking. Everything I did was to keep us safe, to keep our reputation. You protected yourself, I cut in. Ryan's job, Evelyn's marriage, my career. None of that threatened your secret. You just couldn't bear losing control. Margaret turned to me, and I saw something dangerous flash in her eyes. You think you understand? You think you can judge me? I've buried worse secrets than you can imagine. Mother, Ryan stepped forward, but she held up her hand. You want the whole truth? Fine. The man I killed? He was blackmailing me because he knew what happened to my first husband. He didn't just disappear, I made him disappear. And Henry's known all along. The room spun. 2 deaths, not 1. My phone lit up again. Check the garden, under the old rose bushes. Bring a shovel. I showed the message to Ryan. His face went ash white. The roses, he whispered. Dad planted those the summer we moved in. Mother always said never to disturb them. Enough! Henry's voice cut through the tension. Margaret, it's over. I've already called the police. Margaret laughed, high and brittle. No, you haven't. Because you're as guilty as I am. Every cover-up, every lie, every manipulation. You helped me, protected me, loved me. Not anymore. Henry pulled out his phone, showed us the screen. A sent message to the local police department, time-stamped 10 minutes ago. Margaret's face transformed into something I didn't recognize. You betrayed me? After everything we've built? Sirens wailed in the distance. Ryan! Margaret turned to her son, suddenly soft, pleading. Help me leave, now, before they come. I'm still your mother. Ryan looked at me, then at Evelyn, then back at his mother. I could see the weight of choice crushing him. My phone buzzed one last time. Choose wisely. Some family secrets should stay buried. But I was done with secrets, done with manipulation, done with watching this woman destroy lives to protect her own. Ryan, I said quietly, whatever you decide, I'm calling the forensics team about those roses. The sirens grew closer. Margaret's eyes darted between us all, calculating, planning. I could almost see her mind working, searching for another way to regain control. I have proof, she said suddenly. About everyone. Insurance, I called it. One call, and I can destroy all of you. Even you, Jade. Especially you. But something had shifted. The threat felt hollow, desperate. The queen was losing her kingdom, and she knew it. Blue lights flashed through the windows. Car doors slammed outside. Ryan, Margaret whispered one last time. Please. He stepped back, taking my hand. No more, Mother. No more disappearing acts. As the police entered, Margaret straightened her spine, smoothed her skirt, and smiled that perfect society smile. But her eyes promised war. My phone stayed silent. Whoever had been sending those messages had accomplished their goal. The truth was out, the damage done. But as I watched the police lead Margaret away, I realized this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of something much darker. Because some secrets, once unearthed, take on a life of their own. The forensics team found 3 bodies under the rose bushes, not 1. I watched from the kitchen window as they excavated Margaret's perfect garden. each discovery making Ryan flinch beside me. "Your mother's asking for you," Detective Morris said, entering without knocking. "Says she'll only talk if you come alone." "He's not going," I said, but Ryan was already reaching for his coat. "I have to know, Jade." His voice sounded hollow. "All these years. Who else did she—" My phone buzzed. "Margaret's not done playing. Hope you're ready to lose everything." The holding cell made Margaret look smaller, more human, but her eyes were sharp as ever when Ryan sat down across from her. "Tell them I want a deal," she said, ignoring me standing in the corner. "Full immunity in exchange for the locations. There are more bodies, Ryan. So many more." "How many?" His voice cracked. "Enough to destroy this family forever." She leaned forward. "Unless you help me." "Don't," I started, but Margaret cut me off. "Did you know your father isn't really your father, Ryan? Your real father is in the Rose Garden, plot 3. The room spun. Ryan grabbed the table edge. "You're lying," he whispered. "Am I?" Henry knew. "Why do you think he finally turned on me? Guilt's a powerful thing." Her smile was razor sharp. "Help me get immunity, and I'll tell you everything. Fight me, and I'll make sure every newspaper knows the Bennett family's true legacy." My phone lit up. "Check the basement, behind the wine rack. Hurry!" "Ryan," I showed him the message. "We need to—" "Go," he said, not looking away from Margaret. "I'll handle this." The Bennett house was crawling with police, but I knew where Henry kept the spare key. The basement was dark, musty. The wine rack looked innocent enough, until I noticed the scratches on the floor. It moved easily, revealing a small safe. The combination was Ryan's birthday, Henry's one sentimental weakness. Inside, I found a USB drive and a letter addressed to Ryan. My phone buzzed again. "Play it, now." The video showed Margaret, younger but unmistakable, arguing with a man who looked eerily like Ryan. "You can't take him," she was saying. "He's mine now, mine and Henry's." "He's my son!" The man stepped forward. "You think I don't know what you did to Sarah? To Michael? How many others, Margaret? You have no proof." "I have everything. The photos, the letters, the—" The camera shook. A thud. Then silence. The timestamp matched plot 3 in the garden. My hands were shaking as I opened the letter. Henry's handwriting was precise, military. "Ryan, I protected her because I loved her, because I thought I could save her. But I was wrong. The truth is in safety deposit box 247 at First National. The key is where we buried your dog. I'm sorry." "Henry." My phone rang. "Clara." "Jade, turn on the news. Now." I fumbled with my phone's browser. The headline made my blood freeze. "Henry Bennett found dead in police custody. Apparent suicide." Another message from the unknown number. "Margaret always wins. Always." I ran back to the station, but I was too late. The holding cell was empty. The detective looked shell-shocked. "She had help," he said. "Inside help. She's gone." Ryan sat in the interrogation room. Henry's letter crumpled in his fist. "She killed him. She killed my real father, then made Henry help cover it up. And now—" "We'll find her," I said, but the words felt empty. My phone buzzed one last time. "The game isn't over. It's just moving to the next generation. Watch your back, Jade. Margaret taught me everything she knows. Love, Evelyn." The timestamp showed it was sent hours ago, before everything fell apart. I looked at Ryan, saw the devastation in his eyes, the weight of generations of secrets crushing him. Saw our future crumbling under the weight of his mother's legacy. And I realized that sometimes, when you dig for truth, you don't find justice. You just find more graves. The key was exactly where Henry said it would be, buried with Rex's old collar in the backyard. I stood in First National Bank, safety deposit box 247, open before me, while Ryan paced behind me. "Just read it," he said. The file was thick with photos, letters, and a single USB drive. But it was the handwritten confession on top that made my hands shake. "My dearest Ryan," Henry's words blurred as I read aloud. "By now you know about your father. What you don't know is that Evelyn orchestrated everything. She's Margaret's true protege. Always has been. My phone buzzed. Look behind you. Hello, little brother. Evelyn's voice was silk over steel. Mother sends her regards. The bank's private viewing room suddenly felt like a trap. Evelyn stood in the doorway, elegant as ever, but something had changed in her eyes. Something had broken loose. You played us perfectly, I said, keeping my voice steady. The concerned sister, the ally. The author of every anonymous text? She smiled. Someone had to push you toward the truth, make you dig deeper, make Ryan see what Mother really is. Why? Ryan's voice cracked. Because Mother's time was done. Her methods were outdated. Evelyn stepped into the room, closing the door. But her legacy? That's mine now. The bodies in the garden, I said. You knew about them all along. I helped put some of them there, she shrugged. Mother taught me well, but she forgot one thing. Every queen eventually faces a coup. My phone lit up with a message from Clara. Police en route. Keep her talking. So what now? I moved slightly, putting myself between Evelyn and Ryan. You take over Margaret's empire of secrets? Keep manipulating people's lives? Oh, Jade. Evelyn's laugh was chilling. I'm going to do so much more than that. Mother only destroyed individuals. I'm going to reshape entire families. You're insane, Ryan whispered. Oh, I'm evolved. Evelyn pulled out her phone. And now, thanks to you both, I have everything I need. The evidence, the connections, the perfect tragic story of a family destroyed by secrets. She smiled. My book will be so much better than yours, Jade. The pieces clicked into place. The plagiarism accusations, that was you? Mother's idea, my execution. And now? She held up her phone. One call, and every newspaper gets the full story. The Bennett family tragedy. The murderous mother, the complicit father, the innocent son, and the girlfriend who exposed it all for her own gain. That's not what happened. Truth is whatever I say it is. Her smile widened. Just like Mother taught me. Footsteps in the hallway. Evelyn's eyes darted to the door. You can't run forever, I said. Eventually, the truth. Ha, the truth? She laughed. The truth is that Mother's already out of the country. The truth is that Henry died protecting her secrets. The truth is that Ryan's real father wasn't the only one in that garden. Ask yourself, Jade, who was Sarah? Who was Michael? How deep does this really go? The door burst open. Detective Morris led the charge, but Evelyn was already moving. Her hand slipped into her bag. One more truth, she said, backing toward the second exit. I learned more than just manipulation from Mother. The flash of metal was my only warning. I shoved Ryan aside as the shot rang out. Pain exploded in my shoulder. Through the chaos that followed, I heard Evelyn's voice one last time. Family is forever, little brother. See you at Christmas. She vanished into the bank's emergency exit, leaving us with Henry's files, a USB drive full of secrets, and the weight of generations of manipulation. My phone buzzed with a final message, this time from Margaret herself. You wanted the truth? Here it is. You can't escape family. Not really. Ask Ryan about his daughter. The one he doesn't know exists. Yet. I looked at Ryan, saw the color drain from his face as he read the message over my shoulder. Sometimes winning feels exactly like losing, and sometimes the truth is just the beginning of a bigger lie. The USB drive contained a video of Margaret teaching a young Evelyn how to forge documents. Always have proof, she was saying, but keep the real evidence where no one can find it. I watched it in my hospital room, shoulder bandaged, while Ryan paced. The police found more files in Evelyn's apartment, birth certificates, death certificates, adoption papers, and my voice was steadier than I felt. I have a daughter. He stopped pacing. With my college girlfriend. Margaret arranged the adoption, made it look like a stillbirth. She's 6 now. My phone buzzed. Margaret's number. Some truths set you free. Others just give you new chains. Choose wisely. I deleted it without responding. What are you going to do? I asked Ryan. He sat heavily in the visitor's chair. Find her, but not yet. I need to understand who I am first, who my family really is. Clara arrived with coffee and news. They found Margaret's records. Decades of blackmail, manipulation, arranged accidents. The rose garden was just the beginning. And Evelyn? Gone. But she left this. Clara handed me an envelope. Inside was a single photo, Margaret and Evelyn, standing in front of a nursery. The back read, "Family is a choice. Choose better than we did." The detective came next, with questions about Henry's final letter. We found more safety deposit boxes, more evidence. This goes deeper than we thought. Politicians, judges, business leaders, all tangled in Margaret's web. And now Evelyn has the keys to the kingdom, I said. Maybe, he hesitated. Or maybe that's what they want us to think. My phone lit up with an unknown number. Check the hospital security footage from last night. Not everyone who visits is there to heal. The footage showed Margaret, disguised as a nurse, entering my room while I slept. She stood there, watching, then left something under my pillow. I reached beneath it now, found a small key and a note. For when you're ready to understand. Some stories need to be told. Some secrets need to keep breathing. What does it mean? Ryan asked. I thought about Margaret's perfect garden, hiding its dark secrets. About Evelyn's careful manipulation, years in the making. About Henry's final confession and the daughter Ryan never knew existed. It means the story isn't over, I said. It means there's more truth to find. Or more lies to uncover, Clara added. Ryan took my hand. Whatever comes next, we face it together. No more secrets. But even as he said it, I felt the weight of the key Margaret had left. Felt the pull of untold stories and buried truths. Felt the echo of Evelyn's words about reshaping families. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from a new unknown number. Ready to write the real story? The one about how the Bennett family legacy really began? Check the key against safety deposit box 731 at Central Bank. Some truths can only be told by outsiders. That's why Margaret chose you, Jade. That's why she always knew you'd be the one to tell it. I looked at Ryan, saw the question in his eyes, saw the weight of generations of secrets on his shoulders, saw our future, uncertain but honest. The key felt heavy in my hand. A choice, a responsibility, a story waiting to be told. Because sometimes the end of one story is just the beginning of another. Sometimes justice isn't about revenge or exposure. It's about understanding. And sometimes the truth isn't something you find. It's something you choose to tell. I closed my hand around the key, made my decision. Some stories need to be told, even if they break our hearts in the telling. Even if they change everything we thought we knew about love, family, and the price of truth. Even if they're not over yet, not by a long shot.